I hope you're going well. I thought I'd put together this little bit of a tutorial video. I am not going to be doing the entire workout for you right now, but I just want to work through every part of it. You will complete the entire workout, and it should take you about half the lesson. So it's really important that you watch this video, you understand exactly what you need to do in your workout, and you're able to just get straight into it. So that leaves you with a fair bit of time to be able to answer the reflection questions, which make up the next 5 marks or 10 marks in your upcoming SAC 5. So basically, today's workout is a mixture of 2 different sessions just because of time constraints. We're putting them together. And today we're actually focusing on plyometrics training, but we are also focusing on circuit-based training. Now, when you go through your textbook and you understand the notes, and either Mr. Smith or myself go through circuit training with you, the work to rest ratios are going to be slightly different. Generally speaking, circuit training is designed to be an aerobic based training method. However, you can adapt it accordingly. I have adapted it as such today because I want to go through plyometrics, and plyometrics is about building explosiveness, things like agility and muscular power, so to speak. And so that would be very much anaerobic based. And as we know, the work to rest ratios are very different when you want to be getting your body to work aerobically in comparison to anaerobically. So I've actually meddled a little bit with the work to rest ratios, and I've tried to make them reflect more of a plyometrics style of session while still focusing on this style of training of circuit training so that you're getting an exposure of both of these within the one session. So if we have a look over here where I've got my mouse at the moment at this training log, you should be familiar with this because you did a flexibility and fartlek session that Mr. Smith wrote up in your previous lesson this week. So you're actually going to be obviously writing your name, the type of training is put in there for you, plyometrics and circuit-based training, and I've tried to make this specific to a basketball athlete, okay? And I'll talk you through why that's taking place through some of the choices of exercises, but there's also some questions, so I can't give you too much information about that. Put in the date that you're completing this, the time that you're completing this, where you're completing it, and the environment can be something like whether it's sunny and hot, whether it's cold, whether it's inside, whether it's outside, are you wearing shoes, you're not wearing shoes. Each of those items is pretty important. Chuck in there for us some of that psychological data about how you're feeling. Are you a little bit nervous about this session? Maybe there's no anxiety and you're pretty excited about it. You could pop that into the other comments. Do you feel like you've fueled your body well yesterday and this morning, ready to go for this session with the energy levels and also motivation? How keen are you to do it? Because I know during this lockdown it can be tough to stay motivated to exercise. In terms of the physiological data, you can pop in there generally exactly how well you've been eating lately. But also how much sleep you're getting, whether you've got any injuries, etc. Pop that in there. Now it's time to get straight into that session, okay? And in this session, I've got a general warm-up, then I'm doing a bit of flexibility, dynamic flexibility in the warm-up. I've chosen not to do any sport-specific warm-up because I believe that the body should be warm and adequately blood flowing and stretched by the time we get to the end of that warm-up. So for today, what I'm going to get you to do is we're just going to start with 3 minutes of jogging or cycling or something like that. You can jog on the spot if you want, or you can go outside and go up the street and back, but roughly around 3 minutes, give or take. So grab your timer out, chuck it onto either 3 minutes or chuck it onto stopwatch, either way, and get straight into a jog. I don't need to show you what a jog or cycle. You might be lucky enough to have a treadmill or a stationary bike and go for it. The next thing you're going to be doing is skipping. Okay, so if you've got a skipping rope, perfect. Just get straight into some skipping. Regular skips, no double unders, nothing like that, just skipping. Getting the blood flowing and also getting the calves to start that stretchy motion. After you've completed your 2 minutes, I'll just add in there, anybody who doesn't have a skipping rope, no problem. All you simply do is perform the action of skipping with the lower body and clap your thighs at the same time as what you would do with the skipping rope going round, so that you're still getting that hand motion while you're getting the carbs and the blood flow going. After that, we're getting into some dynamic stretches, okay? And it's really important that we start these at a slower intensity and then we move into a higher intensity. So with the forwards arm circles, pretty straightforward, okay? the arms are just going in a forwards motion. Now what you might notice is that they start with smaller diameter circles, but as the body gets warmer, you can end up going a little bit more aggressively into those circles and a bit larger. And then we're going to complete some of the backwards circles. And again, you might start with some smaller motions until you get the range of motion into the shoulder, and then you can get that whole rotation going in the backwards rotation of the shoulders. The next one is important that, again, we start slower and lower intensity and we build to a higher intensity, okay? So we're actually going to be doing some deep squats and we're going to increase the speed of the upwards motion each time, but we're not jumping, okay? So we're just going to get into a deep squat, so feet shoulder width apart, and you're actually going to go low, keep your back straight so that the hips go below the knees. And on your first one, we just stand up at regular speed. On the second one, once we've got that stretch into our hips, we're going to stand up a little bit faster, and by the time we get to the fifth one, we're still going down with control, but we're exploding right up, okay? That should open up the hips, get the knees stretching, and also start the explosive motions within the glutes, hamstrings, quads. Finally, we're doing a little bit of standing torso twist. Now this one's not as specific, but it is just good to make sure that your spine is getting a nice rotation to it before you do any of the plyometrics exercises. Make sure you don't pull too far back on your first motion, and make sure that your head stays in alignment with your spine as you make those rotations. So that should get your warm-up done, okay, and then you should be ready to set up your circuit. Now the circuit, generally speaking, you'd be spending 30, 45 or 60 seconds working, and then you'd have about a 10-second movement between stations at a circuit, okay? And circuits should have about 8 to 12 stations in them. I'm actually setting up an 8-station circuit today. I'm going to be focusing mainly on passing motions with a basketball for a basketball athlete, and also jumping motions and changing direction motions, which we know based on data is important for the game of basketball, okay? I've changed the work to rest ratio. Instead of that 30 seconds on, 10 seconds off, so a 3 to 1, which is very aerobic, I'm actually working with a 1 to 3 work to rest ratio today, which gives us adequate rest to make sure that the movements we complete are high explosive movements. There is really the key to making this a plyometrics session, okay? So I want you working at an RPE of about 8 to 10. That means you're working hard during these movements and the blood should be flowing. You should be ready to go after that warm-up that I gave you, okay? High intensity explosive movements with large amount of rest. This is more indicative of plyometrics, not a regular circuit. I've tried to arrange this so that we're working lower body, then upper body, then lower body, then upper body. Can't do it necessarily every single time, but it does give even better rest for that muscle group while the other muscles are working, okay? You'll be asked to collect your heart rate 3 times, after exercise 4, after exercise 8, and then after exercise 12. So just simply, look, if you can check it on a watch, great, but otherwise just hold your pulse for that 10, 15 seconds, multiply it by 4 if you do 15 seconds, and then work out what the heart rate is at, okay? So 2 laps will be completed. That means you'll do all 8 stations, and then you'll repeat. So you do station 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Done, okay? And then what you're going to be doing is 15 seconds of hard work at that station, and then you get 45 seconds of rest. And I am advocating here for a passive recovery to try and replenish some of the phosphate creatines. If you believe that as you get to station 5, 6, 7, that it's going to be anaerobic glycolysis, I am okay with you actively moving around during that time, because obviously with this going for 16 minutes and we having that work to rest ratio, we are going to be relying pretty heavily on anaerobic glycolysis. So you should be intelligent enough by this point and have enough knowledge to work out when you might want to start saying, we're going with anaerobic glycolysis dominant right now. Let me try and do a little bit of active recovery to make the next session next movement a little bit easier. Okay, so here's what we're actually doing. The first one is some side-to-side jumps. So, very simple. If you've got a line on your floor, okay, or if you want to make it a little bit more challenging for yourself, you can pop a mop or a broom or something down. You are simply doing exactly what the activity says. You are doing side-to-side jumps over this broom as explosively and quickly as you can for that 15 seconds, okay? That is explosive. We're getting the muscle to contract and then relax, so it gets that spring motion into it with the relax phase, and so that's going to be our first 15 seconds. The next 15 seconds, you are going to need a piece of equipment. Now, what is ideal here is that you use a slam ball. The slam ball will hit the ground and it will not bounce back up, okay? Which means that you have to work a little bit harder. If you happen to have a medicine ball, okay, when you slam it onto the ground, it will come back to you, but it's going to provide you with that resistance for you to be able to slam it. It is also absolutely fine to you to just use a basketball, a soccer ball, a netball. You're just going to make sure that you move your head out of the way. So the ball slam is a movement where we go up onto our toes, ball goes high in the air, and we explosively slam it down to the ground while bending at our hips as well. So we're getting shoulders and chest, but we're also getting that hip movement with the abdominals and the core. You're exploding the ball into the ground, and then you're going to repeat that motion again. And this has to be done with explosive power. So 15 seconds of ball slam into the ground, ball slam into the ground. So make sure you've got some sort of ball or medicine ball or slam ball ready to go for that one. Okay, the next one is a squat jump. Okay, now the squat jump is going to be a deep squat like we did earlier. So the hips and the knees should become in alignment. And then we're going to spring up and jump as high as you can off the ground. This is not a tuck jump, so you don't need to tuck into a ball when you're in the air. You just simply need to explode off the ground and then land safely. So what I mean by land safely is bend at the hips and knees as you land again, and you can go back down into your squat to do your second squat jump. You are trying to gain height in this squat jump, but it comes from the spring that you create in your body. So we're not just trying to get through as many jumps as possible by cheating on the squat and only going halfway down. The squat should go all the way down deep and explode up into the air and land in that bend again. So the squat jump actually involves the squat motion and then into the explosion up. Okay, so 15 seconds of that one. The next one is a clap or a hand release explosive push-up. So with this, if you are able to do the clap push-up, then clearly what you're going to be doing is you're going to be exploding off the ground, clapping and getting back onto that ground. However, if you are unable to do that, what you're going to do is you're going to come down to the ground, release your hands on the push-up and push up hard. Come down to the ground, release your hands and push up hard. Either way, as long as you're getting that explosive push, that is a good exercise for you. And what it replicates is that explosive basketball pass to get more distance and to get the ball to go faster, okay? After that one, we're going into some forward bounds. Now with this, we want to do, it's almost like a standing long jump with both feet together, okay? So we're starting as far back as we can, and all we're doing is a 2-foot explosive jump forward and land. And if you don't have much space to work with like me here, just turn around and jump back. Turn around and jump back. It's 15 seconds. If you've got a driveway or a big backyard, you can jump forward, 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 but 15 seconds of explosive forward leaps and bounds, okay? The next one is a wall ball. Now, you don't necessarily need a wall for this, all right? And what this is going to do is this is actually the lower body and the upper body working together. So I haven't given you a huge amount of rest for the lower body here, but basically what we're doing is we're holding the ball at our chest height and shoulders, feet are shoulder width apart, you're going down into a squat, and then as you come up, you're also pushing the ball like you were going to shoot a basketball, and you are releasing it to as high as possible as you can. Then you're going to catch the ball, go back down into the squat, explode up. Your feet should not leave the ground on this one. You're using the lower body to generate, but you're also using that upper body to explode the pushing motion, okay? Now, again, the wall ball is best done with a heavier ball, and it's also really good to stand in front of a brick wall like the side of your house and try and pick a height to push the ball to and catch it on its way down. But if you do not have that, if you've got a weatherboard house or something and you don't want to hit the side of the boards, just go out into the backyard and simply use a basketball, squat down, push as high as you can and push that ball into the sky and catch it. So a wall ball is simply squat and then on your upwards motion, push the ball as high as you possibly can with 2 hands. All right. Next one, pretty simple. You're doing double skips or you are doing high touches. So I'll explain this one. You've got your skipping rope and you are trying to get the rope to go under you twice before you land. You've got 15 seconds and you're trying to do as many of those double under skips as you possibly can. If you do not have a skipping rope, then the way that this changes is you're not doing a squat jump because you're not squatting down deep. You are trying to do jumps like this, but as you jump up, you want both of your knees to come up high. So you're going to do it, jump up, jump up, jump up, jump up, and that is going to be what we call our high touches if you don't have the skipping rope to try and do double under, double under, double under, okay? 15 seconds for that one. And finally, the square rotation jumps are some of our agility athletes' favorites. So basically this time, you need 2 mops or brooms, and you're going to set them up in a bit of an X or cross motion, and you are simply going to go around the box in a 2-footed jumping motion, and you can, if you want, at about the 7-second mark, you can change direction if you would like to. So you might start by going clockwise and then go back anti-clockwise, but you're getting a left, forward, right, and backwards jump in, and you're simply trying to explode around without touching onto those poles as best as you can. That'll take you to the 8th one of 15 seconds on, 45 seconds off, and then you go straight back up to the side-to-side jumps to start with, okay? Now, I understand that the last 3 or 4 have a lot of legs in it and that there's not as many upper bodies, but if you look at the data for basketball, agility and muscular power for jumping, including rebounds and a jump ball contest or blocking or dunking, the numbers say that that is one of the most important things in the game. So that's why we're training it so heavily here. Afterwards, you've got a bit of a cool down to do, okay? You're going to be doing a chest stretch, you're going to be doing a bicep stretch, you're going to be doing a hamstring stretch, a quadriceps, or with the outer thigh stretch, and then a glute stretch. You're going to hold each of those stretches for about 20 seconds, rest, make sure you do the other arm or other leg or other side of the pectoralis, and do each one twice, okay? And then you will be finished for your cool down. Don't forget though, I want you to do a similar motion at a lower intensity. So I've written in here, one of the first things you do in your cool down is 2 minutes of just regular skipping again. You're not trying to beat a world record of the number of skips, it's just a constant movement to keep the blood flowing, remove as much lactic acid as we possibly can, okay? So with an extended epoch. After that, there's going to be some questions. At the moment, I haven't put the new questions in there. They're the questions that you've seen from the flexibility and fartlek. So you should have enough time to be able to complete this session as well as answer those questions during our 75 minutes. Any questions, don't hesitate to ask myself or Mr. Smith. Good luck with the session.